Hello and welcome back to my channel Scriptcase by Jamie, where I show you everything about Scriptcase. And of course, you may be wondering why you are looking at a page that says unable to connect. Well, if you had watched one of my previous videos, which you can see right there, then you will have an idea of what maybe has happened. So I created a video on installing Scriptcase, and I have now gone ahead to try and, well, a few moments ago, I had gone ahead and tried to access my Scriptcase installation where I have my typical developments. And this is the page that I have. So then I went ahead and I thought, okay, no big deal, because I had just recently did a backup video, which you will also see somewhere around there now. And thankfully, of course, I have my backups. So for that reason, I have gone ahead and reinstalled a fresh copy of Scriptcase for that port, which I was using previously, and of course, planned on continuing. But then I thought, okay, I will go and check my other installation, which I had just checked as well, which was working. And funny enough, it is no longer working. I also have an unable to connect page. So thankfully, again, I do also have a backup of that installation. So you may be wondering what this video is about. Is it about me complaining about what has just happened? Or is it about the amount of installations that you can have available on your local machine with Scriptcase? So I do have two available here, and I have the fresh one I have just installed, and I have an older version, which of course I do not have maintained, but I'm going ahead anyway and exporting the projects from there. So of course, just in case of anything happening now, I will need to remove, ideally, all of the Scriptcase copies that I have installed here on my local machine, and then only install two versions. Now, thankfully, all of my own and all of my development is on a remote machine, which you would know if you watch the channel or if you've watched any of the Scriptcase videos, because it is something I am always going on about. Okay, now fair enough, Scriptcase supports multiple installations, as I have here now on port 8090 and 8091. My other ports are all gone. I had 92 and 93 also. They are no longer working. So I only have these two versions working right now, an older version, and the new installation has kind of killed both of the other copies that, well, the other versions that I had running on my local machine. Because in total I had 4 running right now. So, you know, that is a bit of a shame, but that's the way it goes. And like I said, thankfully I have the remote machine, which works beautifully and is separated from this. And at the same time, it does provide me some advantages. One, in the speed that it generates. You know, if my machine is clogged up doing something else at the same time, which can sometimes happen, you know, these background resources, they suck your machine dry. So just for those reasons, it is always good to have a separate little computer. So it doesn't matter if it's an old computer. For instance, my little server that I have Scriptcase running on right now is an old i7. So one of the, I think it was edition 3 or something along those lines. So it is an older version. And of course, you can go ahead and set up an old computer that you have and just install Scriptcase with that and access it. And it will work beautifully. Okay, so I don't want to have this video all about grim and bad news, because it's not really bad news. It's just a learning experience, and we all need to, of course, you know, I've never had more than 4 copies running at once and trying to run another installation at the same time. And of course that has not gone down very well. So in total, just so it's clear, I had previous to the previous installation, three copies of Scriptcase running on my local machine. Okay, I had one also on my remote machine. So I had an older version, 8 point something, another version of 9 point something, which is stuck back there as well. And then I have two copies that I have for the Scriptcase videos and trainings and so forth, because I tend to copy from one to the other, and for that I need to sometimes have it a little more organized. Okay, so for that you can typically have 3 to 4. Now I don't know whether it's a version thing or maybe it's just something that went wrong with the installation, or at the same time, an important thing to note is that if you see all of these icons at the bottom here, you know, like I got a Star Trek one there. I think I just installed that and I never really even got around to having a go at that. But anyway, all of these applications, they all take up space, and over time your computer gets clogged up. So ideally you want to use some sort of cleaning tool or take care of that maintenance yourself and clean all of those temporary files, and you know, it all makes a big difference. As well as your browser, of course, with all the extensions that you can have installed. This will slow down your browsing experience, as well as, of course, the development environment. All of that affects. Now, typically when I run Scriptcase, I have also my task manager on the side, and I will be closing down other bits and pieces because I have, you know, I'm always leaving things open in the background. Like right now I have Camtasia open for the recording, and then by accident I'll leave it there. So then I will open up Task Manager just to see what I have open and just to close those applications, because as we know, when we start working within these browsers, we can have many tabs in no time at all, and it's not Scriptcase that is sucking the memory, it is your Chrome browser, it is your Firefox browser, it is your Brave browser, it is your web browser that is sucking your system resources dry. Okay, so that will of course affect your work within the Scriptcase environment. And thank you for staying tuned to figure out what happens with the multiple versions or copies of Scriptcase. So as you see in front of you right now, I have the login page for Scriptcase version 8.1. And if you saw the first few minutes of this video, then you would know that, well, I had a bit of a hiccup there. And what I have done is gone and uninstalled each of my versions of Scriptcase. So I had 4 installed in total. I was just installing, well, I had installed the 5th the other day, and that had caused me some issues. So I had gone ahead and uninstalled all of them. Funny enough, I did only have one running process of Apache for Scriptcase version 9. And that is also what I have now. And I have gone ahead and reinstalled version 8.1. As you see here, working beautifully. It's registered as well. And of course, we can just have a quick look here at how far Scriptcase has come since version 8.1. And as you see, there is a big difference from then to today. Okay, so there's a big difference. And not only the difference in how it looks, but in how it functions, the features and tools that are available within it, and so much more. So it is constantly evolving. So Scriptcase is constantly evolving and keeping up to date with trends, as well as new capabilities and features of the things that we need as a developer, and as well as a business as well, okay? Because businesses really need some of these features and capabilities that you are able to provide within Scriptcase. Now here I have the version 7, which I have also installed. And it is telling me that my PHP version is 8.4.20, which is incorrect because I'm running version 8.2 or 8.4 at the moment. So this is not going to work for me. If I go here to the upgrade page, it takes me to the upgrade to a new license of Scriptcase. And if I go to the download, it just takes me back to the same download page from which I had downloaded Scriptcase from in the first place. So that is not really very helpful to me right now. I'm unsure how to continue other than running Scriptcase on within a virtual environment and having the setup with the correct version of PHP, which is what I'm needing, is actually 5.4. And if I have that version then all running there, it will work fine. So maybe I will do that just so we can have a look at also version 7 later on in the future. And now here I have the first installation of version 9, okay? And I have 3 licenses in total, so I have 2 for the training, 1 that was just provided to me by Scriptcase, which is beautiful for the purpose of this channel, which is super cool. Now, of course, I've gone ahead and installed, and as we see, this is what I have ended up with. So I have here the first installation, the second installation, and then the third installation. So just to show that when I installed the first installation and then come to the second one, as soon as I installed the second one and launched it, it killed the first one. And the same now with the third one. As soon as I launched the third one, finished the installation and go run, it went and killed the second installation. So right now I have only 1 copy of the latest version 9 up and running and installed. Okay, so I do have my other copy, which is running on a remote server, which some of you already know about for sure. And if you don't, yes, that is my preferred setup. So here I have locally only for testing and for development for videos and so forth. So then over here, I have then on my local host, the start of a manual setup. So I will be continuing now within this video and setting up the final steps of this. In fact, I will be skipping a few steps and I will come back. Hopefully, the fully working version of multiple copies of the same version of Scriptcase up and running on my local environment. And there I am back again. And as you can see here on the screen, I have Scriptcase up and running. In fact, I don't only have 1 copy now up and running. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. In fact, I have 5 and 1 more because one of these is actually a double from the other. So I can actually close this one. I have this one, this one, this one, and now this one, which is on the server. And then these 3 are now installed here. Now I also have version 8.1 installed and version 7.1 running all at the same time without any issues. Okay, so here you may notice that the IP and port is no longer changing. It is in fact the folder name, and it is another way of actually setting up Scriptcase for multiple versions. Okay, so let me replay a little bit because previous I just had an error message with Zend Loader to actually download that and add a line into my PHP ini file, which, yes, I did. Okay, I went through all of that, and then I was still receiving a Scriptcase error message. The instructions are to download the ZenLoader file, an lts.win file for the decryption of Scriptcase, so you can basically use it locally. And with that, you add that into your WAMP folder and add then the line to your extensions to inform it that that file or that script is basically available to use. And with that, then of course, Scriptcase should work, which it wasn't. It was still giving me an error message. I did, of course, find a way around it, which is why I have a fully working version of Scriptcase now. And the simple reason for that is what we should all do when we have problems with the installation of Scriptcase. So what did I do? I came here to the Scriptcase website and I come here and said, hello, Daisy. And somebody else then replied. I don't remember who it was, Winston or something along those lines. It's very helpful, even though it was a little frustrating because, when you do those remote sessions and you try to tell somebody something, you move the mouse a few times and you hope that they understand. So it took a little longer than it had to be because I could have actually set up a few things a little faster, as well as told them where certain things were. Because, for instance, they went ahead and added the line, or an extra line actually, to my PHP ini, which I just found out, or just went and had a check actually, and it was the wrong PHP ini because of the WAMP setup. So the WAMP setup that I have actually uses multiple versions of PHP because I can choose which version of PHP I use. So the WAMP setup has its default version in the root folder, or the typical location. But then the PHP ini it uses is usually a different one, or can be a different one, which it is a different one. So when they went ahead and added that extra line, it was into the wrong PHP ini, so I continued to get the error message. Now, none of that really matters because that was really just one way of getting WAMP with Scriptcase working with multiple versions of Scriptcase, multiple copies. Yeah, because we're talking 3 different versions and 6 copies or 3 copies in total, depends on how you see it. And with that, of course, there's no basic installation. It's not something everybody would have. You would either be, a developer in this, or maybe a consultant, or, anything along those lines where you manage these sort of frameworks for your clients. And in those cases, you would typically have multiple installations. Okay, so with the installer as one way, as I found out, it doesn't work all the time for everyone. I guess I was just unlucky. Maybe that's why I actually used the manual installation previously for Windows. I don't know, because I do remember actually doing a manual installation with WAMP before, where I do have it set. Well, I have it set up on alternative machines in WAMP before as well, instead of the Linux box that I have now. But I much prefer Linux for that anyway. So let's continue here. So as I was saying, there are multiple ways of actually adding or setting up that. And within the WAMP folder, that was one of them. So the setup executable that you can download, the typical one, is one way. If it doesn't work for you, then maybe you will want to have a shortcut. And instead of using WAMP, then the alternative is an option. So here, for instance, you can see here in my netmake folder and my program files folder, I actually have the free installations available, which I had previously installed. So I had installed this one first, this one second, and then this one third. So this one is working and was working, but this one killed this one, and then this one killed this one. Okay, so ScriptcaseByJamie killed the training one, and then the training killed the PHP 8 one. So now we have here the ScriptcaseByJamie folder. Okay, and we have here my www root folder, which is where Scriptcase is running. So here is the default Scriptcase folder, and it has all the files. And you see here the manual download that is available on the website. So you just drag that here into the folder, extract that into a new folder, just give the folder a new name, whether it's Scriptcase 1 or something else, and then you just access the same location as I have done here. So then you just come to 127.0.0.1.80.94 or whatever your port is, and then the folder that you've actually provided it. Okay, and then from there you can then access the extra version of Scriptcase that you have. Probably with less issues than you will have using or trying to set it up with WAMP, with the Zen loader and everything else, because of course it is available here within the Scriptcase environment, and Scriptcase works out of the box when you install it, typically with the installer. So if you can install with the installer and you need multiple versions of Scriptcase, then instead of going through the hassle of downloading the installer, trying to install it multiple times like I have done, or even the manual route using a WAMP server. Install it using the installer and then use the manual installer. Okay, just extract those files into the same folder, and from there you will be able to access and perform the final setup of Scriptcase. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you have liked it and maybe learned something, and also enjoyed some of this little journey of, or should I say, experience with Scriptcase. So until the next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.